Hey Internet, and welcome to the Intro to Photoshop video series from Export. I'm Matt, and I'm going to be showing you your way around Photoshop. I specifically do not say how to use Photoshop because how you use Photoshop is entirely dependent on what you're doing. There's a lot of different things you can do in Photoshop, but there are still some basic concepts and tools and things that everybody uses, and this video series is going to get you familiar with that and get you so that you can put Photoshop on your resume or just say that you know Photoshop. Alright, so this first video is going to teach us a little bit about the interface and the layout of Photoshop, so let's get right into it. So this is what Photoshop looks like when you open it up. This is the newest version of Photoshop, Photoshop CC, but the recent one should look fairly similar. If your Photoshop does not look like this, you can come up to the upper right hand corner of the screen where it says Essentials, and this drop down is going to let you select a workspace or the way Photoshop lays out the program. And for this tutorial in this video series, we're going to be working in the default Essentials layout. So if you have Essentials selected and it does not look like this, or if you do not have Essentials selected, you can come down and select Essentials right here at the top of the list, or you can say Reset Essentials and everything will look exactly like this. All right. So this main darker area here that takes up a good chunk of the screen is your work area or your canvas. I've heard it called both things. This is just basically where you're going to be working on your images and your documents and your Photoshop files. All that stuff is going to be appearing right here. But we're not working on anything in this video, so there's nothing going on. So it's just a big empty space. But this is the work area. Left-hand side of the screen. This is your toolbar. So this is where all of the tools are placed. There are more tools than you see here, and you can see that if you on the bottom right hand corner of most of these tools there is a little tiny arrow, and that little tiny arrow is telling you that there are more tools underneath this top visible tool. And to get to those tools, all you need to do is click and hold on the tool that you want to see more of. So if I click and hold on this quick selection tool, you'll see that there's another tool underneath it, the magic wand tool. And if I want to select that, I just let go while I have my mouse over that tool. So there are quite a few tools underneath these. You know, some of them are rarely used, some of them are more frequently used. Just again depends on what you're doing. So there are more tools than they appear, or than appear at first right there. So this toolbar, color picker down at the bottom, and let's see, you'll see up in the upper left hand corner of the toolbar that there is a double arrow, and if I click on that, it just switches between the wider toolbar and the less wide toolbar. It's a matter of preference. This darker bar at the top where those double arrows exist, if I click and hold and drag, you'll notice that I can pull the interface apart, and you can do that with any panel that has this darker bar at the top. So now I can switch between the thicker and the wider, or the thicker and the thinner toolbar if I wanted. And you'll also notice that I have this little X here that I could close the toolbar out with. And if you do that and you accidentally get rid of your toolbar or something, or if you accidentally ever get rid of any interface element in Photoshop, you can come up to the window menu here and then select whatever panel or piece of the interface you have lost. So we lost the toolbar, so we'll click Tools, and it will go right back where we got rid of it. So in order to dock it back on the left-hand side of the screen here, I'm just going to click on this dark bar on the top again, in between the X and the double arrows, and drag it back. And you'll notice the left-hand side of the screen glows blue, and that's just letting us know we can let go and it will dock back, same as it was in the beginning right there. So that's the toolbar. Up on the top of the screen here, this is the tool options. This is going to be whatever tool you have selected is going to show you options for how to use it, or things you can do with this tool, or controls for this tool are going to appear along the top bar here at the top of the screen. So right now I have the move tool selected, and most of its options are grayed out because we're not working on anything right now. But if I was working on something, you would see most of these light up, and they all have, you know, some things that you can select. For example, if I was working with the text tool down here, you'll see that I have a font picker, font weight picker, so bold, stuff like that. Font size, all that sort of stuff is going to go up here. So this is the tool options or tool controls. On the right hand side of the screen, this is called the panels dock. And this is going to give you more relevant information to whatever you're working on, or whatever. If sometimes in the case of like this text tool, you can have even more options show up by clicking this button here or selecting opening the characters panel. Most of the things in this window menu are panels, and you'll see there's a check mark next to some of them that Photoshop has open for us in this Essentials layout. These are all just panels that are going to dock in this particular area right here. So if I say, for example, I would like to open the character panel, you'll notice that two more things pop up, the character panel and the paragraph panel. And these are going to give us more options for controlling and working with text. And you'll notice that they are tabbed, and you can switch between them just like you would in an internet browser. You can also minimize them by the double arrow that we have here, open them again by clicking on them, or closing them by clicking on this little double, or the stack with an arrow that's next to the double arrow, clicking and going down to close or close tab group. Close will close just the one you're working in, and close tab group will close all of them in that are tabbed out there. So if I say close tab group, they go away. These are more that Photoshop has added in for the essentials, your history panel and your properties panel. And then these ones here are just, again, more panels that Photoshop has deemed to be important for the essentials layout. You can switch them and add them or move them around just like you did with the toolbar. You'll notice that the area glows blue when you can drop it or dock it in a specific place. So if I wanted to move this color panel into the panels dock, I just drag it into the panels dock. Same with this swatches menu or panel, and you can do that with all of these and set your workspace up the way you want it. But for now, let's reset essentials just so we can get back to the default. So these are just more panels that we'll get into in later videos, but just know that they are opened and closed through the window menu and can be docked in this panels dock. This main chunk down here, this biggest element of Photoshop besides the canvas or the work area, is your layers panel. And layers are the heart to Photoshop. And the working with layers is going to become a very important part of working with Photoshop. So important, in fact, that we're going to have an entire video on it. But just know that this is the layers panel, and it is important. So, having said all that, you now know your way around, for the most part, the interface of Photoshop. We're going to get into opening new documents and opening images in the next video. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you there.